Hello there. So we want to quickly move on to work on the form, the authentication form. So let's not waste too much time. We're going to quickly install a number of packages beforehand. So just say npmi. Then we want to first of all install tailwind forms. So say tailwind forms. Okay, tailwind css/forms, right? Then we just give some space, then we install the clsx, then we also install react icons. So react icons. Then the last thing and the most important part is we need to install react hook form. All right, then you can see when we come into our packet.json, I just realized that next 15 uses React 19. So obviously we're going to be getting a few errors if we install packages, right? So in order for us to be able to bypass them, we just use legacy peer deps, and we can just hit enter, and that should install all the necessary packages that we need. All right, so knowing that these packages are being installed, let's set up a few more things. We want to first of all go to the tailwind config.ts, and then inside the plugin side, what we want to do is we want to require tailwind/forms, right? So we want to require this tailwind/forms, and then we make sure that we set the strategy. So the strategy is basically going to be that one. We just open up this bracket, then inside we create an object, then we set the strategy, the class. All right, so this is how we require our tailwind forms inside our tailwind.config.ts, right? Then right after we are done with that, what we are going to do is to quickly go to the page.tsx here, and then we need to work on an AuthForm component. And then with this AuthForm component, where we are going to be using it is right in the middle of between the last two divs, right? So I'll just say AuthForm, and we'll quickly create that. Okay, so we'll quickly create AuthForm. So in order for us to create that, we'll come here inside this site here, then we'll create a component folder. Then inside the component folder we have AuthForm. We have authform.tsx. Then inside the authform.tsx, let's quickly just set it up and then come back so we can import it. So it's already imported inside from the components folder, then authform. So inside the authform, we want to now do a couple of things, right? The first thing we want to do inside the authform is we want to be able to determine, or we want to be able to import React hook form, and then set up a few more things. Okay, so what is the first thing? So inside here we want to create a certain div, right? And then we'll apply certain things to it. But let's come here and then do a few things. So inside we're going to say const variant. Okay, so we have const variant and we set the variant. So let me just type it out so you don't get confused. So set variant. Okay, then inside we say what use state. Then this use state we would import from the top, and then we would say we want it to be what, log in, right? So even though we want it to be logged in, we are going to take this variant, right, and we are going to set a type with it. So we say type variant. So variants can only come in two types, right? So it can only come in as login. So it can only come in as login or as register. Okay, then once you are done, we'll come here and then come and pass the variant the variant type into this use state. So you realize when we want to pass it in, we'll get two options, that is either the login or the register. So we can just pass in login by default. Then under here we will come and say, oh, it's loading. So let's check for is loading. So I would say is loading, then I'll set is loading. I'll set is loading to be equal to use state. Then we set that to what? False, right? Cool. So now that we have this all worked out, we want to quickly work on what would help us toggle the variant or change the variant. So in order for us to do that, we can just give like a few more spaces and say const toggle variant. So const toggle variant, and then after setting up your arrow function, you want to come down and then write a couple of if statements. So we can say if the variant is equal to login, right? We want to first of all set the variant to register. Okay, if it's already logged in, we want to set the variant to register. Then but if it's not logged in, we want to set the variant, but if it's logged in, we set it to register. But if it's registered, we want to set it to login. That's basically what we are saying here, right? Then right after setting this up, we make sure that this variant is put inside a use callback, right? So basically, here's what it is. This place is basically going to say use callback, okay? And then after this use callback, you come here and then come and close the brackets. So use callback and then brackets, right? Let me write it out. I want to write it out so that people don't get confused. So I'll say use callback, right? We import use callback, then we open up the bracket here. I'll delete the bracket that is behind, and come here, come and close the bracket. Then right after this curly braces, we bring in our variant. Okay, so it depends on this variant that we have here, the value of this variant that we have here, right? So understanding how this works, or basically understanding that we've made this thing work, would help us go to the next step. That is, we want to also work with the React hook form. So we need to write like a couple of functions to help us work with that. Now that is going to be const, then we'll open up like an object. So we'll open up the object and we say register, then we say handle submit. So okay, register handle submit. Oh, come on, it's not responding. Okay, it's back. So register handle submit, and then we'll apply our form state. What? Yeah, the code editor quit on us, but yeah, we'll get it back on. So okay, the terminal should open up in a second. Let me quickly pause the video. When I reset up the project, or when I rerun the project, we can just continue. Okay, so we are back, and yeah, so over here we want to write form states, right? So form state, and we passing the error. Then inside over here we come and equate it to use form, and then this use form we'll get from the React hook form, and then we have to pass in the field values, okay. Then So field values, we have to import that also. Then right after, we open up our brackets, then we open an object, then we'll just hit enter. Then inside this object, we want to pass in default values. Okay, so default values is going to be set to like a number of objects or a number of key value pairs, right? So the first one is going to be name, and then name is going to be an empty string, and then we are going to be having email and password. Email, right? Email and password. All right, cool. So right after we are done setting this up, right after we are done setting this up, what we want to quickly work on is one more function, and that is going to be the onSubmit function, right? So for that, what we are going to be doing is we need to first of all create a const. Okay, we're going to create a const. So we say const onSubmit, right? And then inside we set the type of it to submit handler. So submit handler, right? Then inside, so this submit handler we need to import, so we import that. Then inside we pass in the field values. Then we know that we need to take in this data. Then we set up our arrow function. Then right inside it, we need to set its loading to true. Set its loading to true. Okay, set its loading to true. Then right after, we come here and then write our if statement. So we want to say if the variant is equal to login, if the variant is equal to login, we want to quickly do the login stuff, right? So we log in here, and then if we check the variant, and then we realize that the variant is equal to register, we basically just do the register stuff, right? Okay, so right after setting this up, there's one more function that we need to write, and that is the const social action. So const social action, or social sign in. Okay, so social action, so that is going to be taking in the parameter of the action, and then we want to make sure that the type of the action is string, right? The bracket is already closed. We basically create our arrow function, then inside we just set loading, set is loading, set is loading to true. Okay, but I'm just wondering a little bit like, why isn't its loading showing up here? Oh yeah, I know why. Yeah, we mistakenly took away the return. So for that, then we just close this. Okay, I'm coming. Let's quickly cut this. I mistakenly took out the return that was supposed to be there. Yeah, I didn't even take it out. It's right at the top here. It's right at the top. So let me clean this and paste it here. Okay, nice. Now it says that I think it's saying that we haven't, so it says use states. Okay, let's check. Okay, there's already use state, use callback. What else is missing? Fail to compile. You're importing a component that needs use state. Okay. Okay, yes. So I've seen the issue. The issue here is we didn't set this as use client. So let's not forget. Use clients here. Okay. So we just refresh this and we should see the AuthForm show up over here. Okay, nice. So now that we have this all worked out, what we want to quickly do is we want to come down into this part of, so let's quickly add the brackets. Then inside here we need to put in like a bunch of elements, all right, a bunch of divs with their own stylings, right? So for the first div that we have here, we're going to quickly say empty or margin top 8, right? Then we say in smaller screens or SM, then we give it mx auto, right? Then we say SM again, we give it the width full, okay? Then for SM again, then we give it what, max with medium, right? So this is it. Then right after doing that, inside this div again, we want to apply a few more stylings or a few more class names, and that is, we'll come here and then we'll say give it a bg white here. Then we'll give it a px4. Then we give it a py8 shadow sm rounded, lg sm px10. Get it? So right after setting this up, you want to come down here and then apply a form. Okay, so we set up this form and we will just take off this action. Okay, we set up this form, we take off the action. Then inside this form we want to basically pass in a certain input value. Okay, so but let's just apply a class name here. So our class name for the form is going to be space y6 space y6. Then we basically set this on submit. So the on submit is going to be the handle submit, right? And then this handle submit we are going to be getting from the React hook form, and then we pass in the on submit inside. So right, so nicely done. Now the reason why we are passing in us on submit before we pass, the reason why we are passing handle submit before we pass on submit is because we need the fields that we are specifying inside the form here. So without setting it, because I mean by normal sense, like if we just passing us on submit like the usual, it's supposed to just do whatever it's doing, right, with the data. But we need this data, and then this data is coming from the handle submit, the one that we defined here, right? To screw up, the one that we defined here, right? So that's basically how it works. So now that we understand that, let's quickly come here and then set up our input. So I would say here input, then we need to go back here and then create an input for this. So for this, what we'll do is to come here and then create a new component folder. So we'll say components, then inside we'll create inputs. So create an inputs folder, then inside we'll create an input. .tsx. Then inside this input.tsx, we want to get rid of the error, so I'll just import some random thing. I'll just do some random thing and then come here, come and import it. So you can see that it's actually importing this using the @, app and stuff, like the aliases, right? The thing that we did at the beginning of NextJS setup, right? So over here, I would want us to add these things, but let's go inside here and then set up a few things first, right? So what are we trying to set up now? What we want to set up inside the input is, first of all, let's set the use client. Let's set the use client. Okay, then over here, what we are going to do is we're going to have to set up a certain type or a bunch of types, right? So but before that, we need to import. So we say import, then we import what? The field errors. So imports field errors, right? So field errors, then field values, then we import use form register, use form register. Okay, so now that we have these bad boys all set up, okay, what is the issue here? Yeah, it actually exists. Okay, so yeah, so we have to set up the interface. Let's type it out. So the interface is going to be what? Input props. So input props, then we bring the curly braces, then inside here we set up the label, and then we say the label is going to be string. Okay, the label is going to be string. Then we would say that we need to set the ID to be string as well. Then we come down here, set the type also to string. Then we come down, set required to be boolean. Okay, then we come down here, then we set register. We set the register to be use form register, use form register, and then we set it to what? The field values that we imported, right? Then right after that, we'll come down here and then set the errors to field errors. Okay, then the last one is this disabled, to set disabled to be a boolean. Okay, nicely done. So right after setting this up, what we need to do right now is we need to come into this input here. Then we see, oh, this input is going to be a react.functional component, right? So react.fc is going to basically take or handle the input props here. Then inside we can just pass in or everything. So we have the label, the ID, the type, the required, register, errors, disabled. Nice. So right after getting this, the next thing we want to work on is this. So inside here we want to first of all have the first div. Okay, so the first div, then inside the first div we have to apply a label element here. Then the HTML4, we make it ID. Okay, then right after that we set the class name. We set the class name to block text, right, SM, so the text SM. Then we need to set to font medium, right. Then we say loading 6, then text gray 900, right. Nice. So right after setting this up, we need to come inside here, inside this label here. Then we pass in our label prop. Nice. Right, so having this, we come right below it, and then we create another div, and then this div is going to have its own class name. So that is going to be class name mt2 or margin top 2. Then inside here we come and put in like a normal, we come and put in a normal input. So we can just take the normal inputs that HTML provides us. So inside this input here, we're going to be passing in a number of properties, and the first property is the ID, and then the ID we are going to pass in ID prop here. Then inside here we say that the type, we want to set the type, to, okay, set the type to what, come on, set the type to type. Then we set autocomplete to the ID, that is if we want. So no problem at all with that. Then over here we need to pass in a certain we're going to do something here. So we're going to take this register, right. So we'll say dot register, then open up this bracket, and then we say take in the ID and required. Okay, so right after setting this up, you can come down here and then say disabled, and then we set disabled to disabled, right. And right after, we are going to come below this disabled and then apply a class name using the CLX, right, the CLSX, right. So we'll come down here and we say class name, and then this class name is going to open up this, right. Then we say CLSX. So we just imported CL. Okay, I think we need to import it first, so has to be okay. So we just imported it. Now our styling is going to be long over here, so let's use the backticks so that we can just divide things, make them like roll down, right. Because if we use the normal double quotes, we'll get errors when we try to roll things down, right. So the first styling is going to be form input. Now how come we are adding a class name called form input? That is possible because of the fact that we installed and required this, the Tailwind CSS forms, right. So yeah, let's go back inside here. Okay, we are getting some errors here. So we'll pass in all the necessary props, but let's quickly work on this. So for the form input, then we add block, we add width full, then we come down here to come and add rounded MD. So rounded MD, then we add we'll add the border 0. Then we make sure that the py, or the padding vertical, is 1.5. Then let's not forget the text gray 900. Then shadow sm, let's not forget ring 1. Oh, come on. Ring 1. Then ring insert, ring gray. Okay, so so ring insert. Then we can set our ring gray to 300. We make sure that we set the placeholder text to as well to gray 400. So placeholder text to gray 400. Then we set the focus to ring 2. Alright, we set the focus to ring 2. Then we set the focus ring to insert, so focus ring insert. Then we set the focus ring again over here to ring sky. Right, we can set it to ring sky, right, but I want to set it to ring indigo 600. right, I want to set it to ring indigo, so you can just remove this part. Then ring indigo 600. Then we set this to sm, so on small screens make sure that the text is small, and then we make sure that the leading is 6. Right, so I think we made a mistake somewhere. Yeah, I think right around here. So this one too, let's make it leading. Alright, nice one. Now that we've been able to set all these bad boys up, right, we are going to have to bring a comma here, and then we'll add in a few more props. So you see, after the comma, oh yeah, we need to add a comma here. After the comma, we need the errors, and then this errors is going to be defined by their IDs. Then we say, oh, if this particular error occurs, right, give us the following styles. Make sure you turn the focus ring to rows. Turn the focus ring to rows. Right, so it's going to be ring rows 500. Right, then right after doing that, we come down there, and then we set the disable to as well to opacity. So the disabled, we set that, so we check for disabled, right? So in case it's disabled, we set the opacity to 50, and then set the cursor to default. Okay, nice one. So I want us to quickly format this so that it looks good. Okay, wish I could just nice. Nice. All right, so right after setting it up like this, what we quickly want to do is we want to go back into the AuthForm here, and then we'll apply all these properties to it. All right, so inside here we can quickly set the ID. You can set the ID to what? To name. That is if we, okay, so let's first of all set the ID to email, right? So this email ID is going to have the label 2 as well, going to be email, right? Then we can set the register to be register, right? Then right after that we set the errors to be errors. Then we set the disabled to is loading. Okay, nice. So right after doing this, okay, let me remove this. Okay, nicely done. Right after doing this, if we open up the project, you realize that we have this really nice and cool you have this really nice and cool styling here. Okay, nicely done. Right, so this is basically going to be the first part of the auth UI that we are going to be building, and then in the next one we'll work on the buttons and the other things that would help us complete this auth form. Right, so hopefully I'll see you in the next one.